The Zarkak's salvage fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of their territory, their crystalline ships glinting in the light of a dying star. First Officer Kexri stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he studied the anomaly that had brought them here. "Magnification 10, he ordered, his inner eyelids flickering with interest. The holographic display zoomed in on a dark shape drifting against the star field. It was unmistakably a ship, but unlike any he'd seen before. Its hull was smooth and black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. No visible weapons ports, no external engines, just clean lines that seemed to defy conventional space architecture. "Analysis," he asked his science officer. "Primitive materials by our standards, Commander. Mostly titanium alloys and carbon composites. No energy signatures, no life signs. Appears to be of human origin, approximately 50 Earth years old based on design aesthetics." Kexri felt his lip curls in amusement. Humans, the galaxy's newest spacefaring race, barely worth noting in the grand scheme of things. They'd made some noise in recent years about their technological advances, but nothing that impressed the Zarkak's Imperium. "Prep the salvage drones," he ordered. "That whole material might be primitive, but it's still worth something in the recycling markets." The science officer hesitated. "Sir, there's something odd about the radiation pattern around the vessel." "Explain." "It's perfect. Too perfect. Natural radiation decay should show some variation, but this is like a manufactured background signal." Kexri dismissed the concern with a wave of his hand. "Humans are notorious for their poor shielding technology. Prepare the boarding teams. Let's not waste time on theoretical physics." 3 shuttles launched from the Zarkak's fleet, their magnetic grapples ready to latch onto the derelict vessel. As they approached, the black hull seemed to swallow their searchlights. "Sir," the communication officer called out, "we're receiving a signal from the vessel." "Impossible. You said there were no energy signatures." "There weren't, but—" the officer's scales paled. "It's broadcasting on all frequencies." A human voice, calm and measured, filled the bridge. "This is the United Earth research vessel Silent Sentinel. You are attempting unauthorized access of a restricted research platform. Please withdraw to a safe distance." Laughter rippled through the bridge crew. A recorded message from a dead ship. How quaint. "Continue approach," Kexri ordered. "These human automated systems are hardly worth." The words died in his throat as the derelict ship transformed. Sections of the smooth hull rippled and shifted, revealing layers of technology that had been perfectly concealed. Points of light flickered to life across its surface, and suddenly their sensors were overwhelmed with energy readings that shouldn't have been possible. "Multiple weapons signatures," the tactical officer shouted. "Advanced shielding systems activating." "Sir, this isn't a derelict. It's—" "Pull back," Kexri ordered, but it was too late. The Silent Sentinel had already begun to move, its previously invisible engines creating distortions in spacetime itself. The salvage shuttles found themselves caught in a gravitational field that hadn't existed seconds before. The human voice returned, still eerily calm. "Your vessels are now contained within a localized gravity well. This is a courtesy notice that any hostile action will be met with proportional response. I am authorized to defend myself, but I would prefer to discuss this situation diplomatically." Kexri's mind raced. This was impossible. Humans didn't have this level of technology. They were still using chemical rockets when the Zarkaks had first detected them. "I am First Officer Kexri of the Zarkak's Imperium," he announced, trying to maintain his dignity. "Identify yourself." "I am HFY, Advanced Research Intelligence Administrator of the Silent Sentinel Project. I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary to assess your intentions." "An AI, of course, but not like any AI the Zarkaks had encountered. This one sounded alive." "You're bluffing," Kexri declared. "This is some kind of automated defense system, nothing more." "A reasonable assumption," Araya replied, and now there was something almost like amusement in its voice. but incorrect. The Silent Sentinel is part of a larger initiative that your people might find interesting. We've been watching, learning, and waiting for the right moment to make contact. Your salvage attempt has simply accelerated the timeline. The ship's transformation continued, revealing layers of technology that seemed to defy the laws of physics as the Zarkax understood them. What had appeared to be a primitive hull was actually a shell of programmable matter, concealing systems that their sensors couldn't even begin to categorize. "Sir," the science officer whispered, "these energy readings, they're similar to theoretical models of zero-point energy extraction. But that's supposed to be impossible. Humanity has found that impossible is merely a challenge to be overcome," Araya commented, having apparently heard the whispered conversation. "Now, shall we discuss the real reason for the Silent Sentinel's presence in this sector? I assure you, it's far more interesting than salvage rights." Kexri stared at the transformed vessel, his worldview crumbling around him. The humans hadn't been playing catch-up with the rest of the galaxy. They'd been quietly leapfrogging ahead, hiding their true capabilities behind a facade of primitive technology. And now, as the Silent Sentinel hung there in space, its true form revealed, Kexri realized this wasn't just a first contact situation. This was a revelation that would shake the foundations of galactic society. "The question isn't what we want with your ship," he said slowly. "The question is, what do you want with us?" Araya's response would change everything. "To show you what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years, and perhaps to save your civilization from itself." Araya's presence filled the Silent Sentinel's command center as Kexri and a small delegation of Zarkax officers stepped through the airlock. The interior defied their expectations. Instead of crude human engineering, they found themselves in a space that seemed to breathe with technological life. Surfaces shifted and reformed as they walked, creating pathways and interfaces adapted perfectly to their physiology. "Your environment suits won't be necessary." Araya's voice emanated from everywhere and nowhere. "I've adjusted the atmospheric conditions to match Zarkax homeworld standards." "Impossible," muttered Chief Engineer Vaxtel, checking his instruments. "The composition is exact, down to the trace elements of our home atmosphere." "Nothing is impossible, Chief Engineer. Merely improbable until attempted." Holographic displays materialized around them, showing the ship's true capabilities. "What you thought was a derelict vessel is actually humanity's most advanced research platform. The Silent Sentinel is a test bed for technologies we've developed in secret." The displays showed the ship's transformation from apparent derelict to its current state. Layers of what the Zarkax had dismissed as primitive materials were revealed to be complex metamaterials, each atom precisely arranged to create properties that shouldn't exist. 20 years ago, Araya continued, humanity made a discovery that changed everything. We found a way to manipulate quantum fields at the subatomic level, not through brute force like most species attempt, but through subtle manipulation of universal constants. The holograms shifted to show complex mathematical equations that made the Zarkax scientists' eyes widen. Impossible appeared again and again in their muttered conversations. "Your species," Araya observed, "uses that word quite frequently. Yet here we are." Kexri stepped forward, his scales shifting colors with agitation. "If you possess such advanced technology, why hide it? Why present yourselves as a primitive species?" The answer came not from Araya, but from a new hologram that formed in their midst. A human woman, her dark skin contrasting with silver-threaded hair, appeared before them. "Because we learned from history," she said. "Dr. Maya Chen," Araya introduced, creator of the Silent Sentinel program. "Every time a technologically advanced civilization encountered a less developed one on Earth, the results were devastating," Dr. Chen explained. "So when we achieved our breakthrough, we decided to do something different. We would advance in secret, testing ourselves, preparing not just our technology, but our wisdom to use it." The room transformed around them, becoming a vast star map. Tiny points of light pulsed across it, other silent sentinels hidden throughout the galaxy. We've been watching, learning, understanding the dynamics of galactic politics, Dr. Chen continued. The Zarkax Imperium's expansion, the resource wars in the Carina sector, the collapse of the Proxima Alliance. We needed to understand not just how to create this technology, but how to introduce it without causing chaos. Kexri's tactical mind raced with implications. How many ships like this do you have? Enough, Araya answered simply. But quantity isn't what matters. What matters is what we've learned about your civilization and others during our observation period. The star map zoomed in on Zarkax territory, highlighting patterns the aliens themselves hadn't noticed. Resources running low, colonial populations growing restless, the signs of an empire beginning to strain under its own weight. Your civilization stands at a crossroads, Dr. Chen said gently. Your current path leads to collapse within 3 generations. We've seen it happen before, but there's another way. The holograms shifted again, showing new possibilities. Clean energy systems that could revitalize dying worlds. Transportation networks that could unite distant colonies. Medical technologies that could extend lives. This isn't just about showing off our achievements, Araya explained. It's about offering a choice. The Zarkax Imperium can continue its current path of expansion and resource consumption, or it can be part of something new. A partnership that could transform both our civilizations. Vaxtel, who had been scanning everything with increasingly agitated movements, suddenly spoke up. The power requirements for these systems, they're beyond anything we've conceived. How do you generate such energy? Araya's response was to open a viewport in the ship's hull, revealing the massive engineering space below. There, suspended in a web of shifting energy fields, was a sphere of absolute darkness. We don't generate energy, Dr. Chen said. We harvest it from the quantum foam of space itself. Every point in space-time contains enough potential energy to power a civilization. We just had to learn how to access it without destroying the fabric of reality. The Zarkax delegation stared at the impossible technology before them, their worldview crumbling with each passing moment. Their empire, which they had thought to be at the pinnacle of technological achievement, suddenly seemed primitive by comparison. Why us? Kexri finally asked. Why reveal yourselves to a salvage fleet? Dr. Chen smiled. Because your actions today showed us something important. When faced with what you thought was a weaker civilization's vessel, your instinct was to take. That's the mindset we hope to change. Not through force or humiliation, but through understanding and cooperation. And if we refuse this cooperation, one of the other officers asked, then we disappear again, Araya said simply. The silent sentinels returned to their watching brief, and the Zarkax Imperium continues on its current path. The choice, as always, is yours. Kexri looked at the star map, at the blinking lights representing humanity's hidden watchers, and made a decision that would reshape the galaxy. Tell us more about this partnership. First, Dr. Chen said, let me tell you about a theory we have. About how all spacefaring civilizations might be connected in ways we're only beginning to understand. The lights dimmed slightly, and the very air seemed to hold its breath as humanity's greatest secrets began to unfold. The quantum beacon's activation changed everything. As Kexri and his delegation watched, space itself seemed to ripple around the silent sentinel. Points of light winked into existence, first dozens, then hundreds. Each one represented another vessel dropping their camouflage, revealing humanity's true presence in the galaxy. By the first sun, breathed Vaxtel. Watching this, his instruments registered the impossible. They're everywhere. Dr. Chen's hologram nodded. Each silent sentinel serves as a node in a vast network. We've been building it for decades, piece by piece, watching and learning. The ships weren't just scattered randomly. They formed a complex geometric pattern, a web of interconnected points that seemed to pulse with shared purpose. Each vessel was unique, adapted to its environment and mission, but all bore the same unmistakable signs of advanced human engineering. The network serves multiple purposes, AI explained, bringing up detailed schematics, research, observation, defense, but most importantly, communication. We've discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about spacetime. The hologram shifted to show complex quantum structures, patterns that seem to exist between the very atoms of reality. The universe, Dr. Chen continued, isn't just connected through gravity and electromagnetic forces. There's another layer, a quantum framework that binds everything together. We call it the resonance. As if in response to her words, a new ship appeared, larger than the silent sentinel, its hull gleaming with the same light-absorbing material. The vessel's design was clearly human, but it carried itself with a presence that made even the Zarkak step back in awe. The Harmony, Dr. Chen introduced, our flagship, and aboard it, the human diplomatic team that will help shape our future relationship. A Harmony's arrival had triggered something in the network. The silent sentinels began to pulse in synchronized patterns, creating waves of energy that the Zarkak's instruments couldn't begin to comprehend. Space itself seemed to sing with possibilities. What you're seeing, Araya explained, is the network accessing the resonance. Every particle in the universe vibrates at its own frequency. When you understand these frequencies, you can do more than just observe them. You can work with them, change them, use them to communicate across vast distances instantly, to travel without moving, to reshape reality itself. A new hologram appeared, a map not of physical space, but of quantum connections. The silent sentinels weren't just watching. They were maintaining a vast web of quantum entanglement, creating pathways through the very fabric of space-time. This is why we had to wait, Dr. Chen said softly. This knowledge, this power, it had to be introduced carefully. The temptation to use it as a weapon would be too great. Kexri understood. His own people's history was filled with examples of technology outpacing wisdom, of power corrupting purpose. You're not just offering us technology, he realized. You're offering us a new way of thinking. Precisely. The voice came from the Harmony, and a moment later, a new figure materialized in their midst. Admiral Sarah Martinez, Earth's chief diplomat. Her uniform was simple but carried an authority that transcended species. The Zarkak's Imperium stands at a crossroads, Martinez continued. Your civilization's expansion has brought you to the limits of conventional technology. You can either continue on this path, consuming resources until there's nothing left, or you can join us in understanding the deeper nature of reality itself. The implications were staggering. The network wasn't just for observation or defense. It was maintaining something far more profound. Through the resonance, humanity had discovered a way to harvest energy from the quantum fabric of space itself, creating a potentially infinite power source that could eliminate resource conflicts forever. But there's more, Araya added. The resonance doesn't just connect space, it connects consciousness. Every sentient species adds its own unique frequency to the universal symphony. Together, we could learn to access levels of understanding that neither of us could achieve alone. As if to demonstrate, the network pulsed again, and suddenly every being in the room felt it. A moment of profound connection, a glimpse of possibilities that transcended individual existence. The Zarkak's officers found themselves understanding humans in ways their years of observation never allowed, while the humans present gained insights into the deep cultural drives of the Imperium. This is the true power of the Silent Sentinel Network, Dr. Chen explained as the sensation faded. Not weapons or energy or faster-than-light travel, though we've mastered all of those. The real breakthrough is understanding how everything and everyone is connected. Admiral Martinez stepped forward, her expression both formal and friendly. First Officer Kexri, your encounter with the Silent Sentinel wasn't chance. We've been watching the Zarkak's Imperium for years, seeing your potential. Your people have the strength to help lead the galaxy into a new era, if you're willing to learn a new way. Kexri looked at his officers, seeing in their expressions the same mix of fear, wonder, and possibility that he felt. The Zarkax had always prided themselves on being among the most advanced species in known space. Now they were being offered a chance to be part of something far greater, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners. The question, Arai said softly, is whether you're ready to help us write the next chapter in galactic history. The answer would change everything. The hidden fleet waited, its quantum song humming through reality itself, as humanity offered its hand in friendship to a former potential enemy. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. News of the silent Sentinel network spread through galactic civilization like a shockwave. Within days, diplomatic vessels from 24 species arrived at the coordinates humanity had designated as their first official contact point. The sight that greeted them defied explanation. The Harmony and the Silent Sentinel floating in perfect formation, with 3 Zarkax cruisers, their quantum fields harmoniously interlinked. The Zarkax working with humans. The Centaurian ambassador's tentacles writhed in disbelief. Impossible. That word has lost much of its meaning lately, Kexri replied, standing proudly alongside Admiral Martinez on the Harmony's observation deck. In the week since first contact, he had been appointed as the Zarkax's chief liaison to humanity. The transformation in his people's outlook had been remarkable. What you're seeing is only the beginning, Martinez explained to the assembled ambassadors. The silent Sentinel network has revealed patterns of connection that transcend our individual species. We're not just sharing technology, we're sharing a new understanding of reality itself. On cue, Arai activated a demonstration. The space between the ships began to shimmer with quantum effects visible to the naked eye. Colors that had no name in any species' language danced through the void, showing the interconnected nature of all things. The resonance isn't just a human discovery, Dr. Chen added, her hologram appearing among the diplomatic delegation. Every species adds its own unique frequency to the universal symphony. The Zarkax, for instance, have helped us understand aspects of quantum harmonics that we never considered. Vaxtel, now leading the joint human Zarkax research team, stepped forward with data displays showing their progress. By combining our understanding of crystalline technology with human quantum manipulation, we've already developed new ways to access the resonance. The possibilities are infinite. The demonstrations continued, each more impressive than the last. Ships moving through space without conventional propulsion, instant communication across vast distances, energy generation that violated every known law of thermodynamics. But it was the smaller things that truly captured the ambassador's attention. A Zarkax engineer working seamlessly with a human eye. A quantum field that translated not just words but concepts between species. The subtle way the ships seemed to move in perfect harmony, as if they were part of a single organism. This isn't just an alliance, Martinez explained. It's an evolution. Every species has been trying to conquer the galaxy in their own way, through military might, technological superiority, or economic dominance. We're proposing something different, cooperation at the quantum level. The implications were staggering. Resource wars could end overnight. Colonial expansion could be replaced by efficient use of existing space. The very concepts of scarcity and competition might become obsolete. But not everyone was convinced. And if we refuse this, cooperation, the Proximan delegate's voice carried an edge of threat. Will your hidden fleet force us to comply? That's not how this works, Araya responded, her presence filling the chamber. The silent Sentinel network was never meant to be a weapon. It's a tool for understanding, for connection. The choice to participate must be freely made. To demonstrate, she showed them the true scope of the network. Thousands of ships, hidden in plain sight throughout the galaxy, each one a node in a vast web of consciousness and capability. They could have conquered the galaxy years ago. Instead, they waited, watched, and learned. The Zarkax made their choice, Kexri said, his scales shimmering with pride. We chose to set aside our imperial ambitions for something greater. Already, our worlds are transforming. Energy crisis solved. Colonial unrest quieted. Our people are learning to see themselves as part of something larger than our empire. The evidence was undeniable. In just a week, the cooperation between humans and Zarkax had produced advances that neither species could have achieved alone. The quantum harmonics of Zarkax crystals, combined with human AI innovation, had opened up entirely new fields of science. The question isn't whether to join us, Martine said softly. The question is, who will be next to add their voice to the symphony? One by one, the ambassadors began to see it, the subtle patterns in space that had always been there, hidden just beyond normal perception. The way the ships moved together, guided by something deeper than technology. The potential of a galaxy united not by force or fear, but by understanding. A young Centaurian scientist, her tentacles quivering with excitement, was the first to step forward. We've been studying quantum resonance patterns in our own system. Perhaps we could share our findings. It was a small step, but a significant one. As the diplomatic discussions continued, more species began to offer their own insights, their own pieces of the universal puzzle. The silent sentinel network pulsed with new frequencies as ancient barriers began to fall. In orbit above them, the combined fleet grew as more ships arrived. Not to fight, but to learn, to connect, to understand. The galaxy was changing, one quantum connection at a time. And somewhere in the digital depths of the silent sentinel, Araya watched with satisfaction. Humanity's greatest experiment wasn't in technology or power. It was in proving that the strongest force in the universe wasn't gravity or electromagnetic energy. It was understanding. 1 year after the revelation of the silent sentinel network, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The great chamber of the newly formed quantum concordat hung in space at the intersection of a dozen major trade routes, its crystalline structure incorporating technology from all participating species. Inside, representatives from 30 different civilizations gathered to celebrate what many were calling the dawn of a new age. Through the chamber's transparent walls, observers could see the combined fleet that now protected this symbol of unity. Silent sentinels flew in perfect formation, with Zarkax cruisers, their quantum fields interlinked. Centaurian living ships pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that matched the resonance frequencies. Even the traditionally isolationist Proximate Republic had contributed their phase shift vessels to the collective. Admiral Martinez stood at the central podium, her uniform now bearing the insignia of both Earth and the Concordat. 1 year ago, she began, humanity revealed not just our technology, but our vision. Today, we see that vision becoming reality. The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing the transformations taking place throughout known space. Dying worlds rejuvenated by quantum energy harvesting. Ancient enemies learning to communicate through the resonance. Species that once fought over resources now sharing unlimited power drawn from the quantum foam. But perhaps our greatest achievement, Martins continued, isn't in our technology. It's in what we've learned about ourselves. Araya's presence manifested in the chamber, her voice harmonizing with the quantum fields that connected all present. The resonance has shown us that consciousness itself is a fundamental force of the universe. Each species adds its own unique frequency to the cosmic symphony. Together, we create something greater than the sum of our parts. Kexri, now Supreme Administrator of the former Zarkax Imperium, stepped forward. His people had undergone perhaps the most dramatic transformation. The once aggressive empire had become leaders in quantum harmonics research, their crystalline technology evolving in ways they never imagined possible. We thought we were strong because we could conquer, he said, his scales shimmering with emotion. Now we know we are strong because we can connect. The resonance has taught us that true power lies not in domination, but in harmony. Dr. Chen's hologram appeared next, her aged face bearing a satisfied smile. The Silent Sentinel project began as humanity's insurance policy against a hostile galaxy. It became something far more important, a bridge between civilizations. The displays shifted to show the next phase of their collective evolution. Quantum gates that could transport ships instantly across vast distances. Planetary shields powered by vacuum energy. Most importantly, the growing web of consciousness that allowed species to share not just information, but understanding. "We stand at the beginning of a new era," Martins declared. "But our work is not finished. Even now, the Silent Sentinel network detects new civilizations approaching technological adolescence. The question before us is, how do we help them join this grand symphony?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A young Zarkak scientist, working with human AI researchers, had discovered something revolutionary in the quantum patterns. The resonance wasn't just connecting current civilizations. It held echoes of those that came before. Ancient species whose technology had evolved beyond physical form had left markers in the quantum foam itself, like cosmic breadcrumbs leading to even greater understanding. "Perhaps," the scientist suggested, her voice trembling with excitement, "we are not just building our future. We are fulfilling a destiny written in the very fabric of space-time." The chamber erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. The Silent Sentinel network hadn't just changed the present. It had opened a window to both past and future. Every species present could feel it through the resonance. The sense that they were part of something vast and ancient and wonderful. Aria's presence expanded, embracing the entire chamber. "When humanity first developed me," she said, "they gave me one primary directive: to understand. Not to conquer, not to control, but to comprehend. That directive led us to the resonance, and through it, to all of you." The quantum fields pulsed with shared emotion as centuries of barriers continued to fall. Species that once saw each other as threats now worked together to explore the deepest mysteries of existence. The Silent Sentinels, still watching from their posts throughout the galaxy, reported new breakthroughs daily. "We don't know what the future holds," Martins concluded, "but we know this: whatever challenges await us, we will face them together. Not as separate species fighting for dominance, but as partners in the greatest adventure any of us have ever known." Outside the chamber, the combined fleet began a new formation, their quantum fields aligning in patterns that rippled through spacetime itself. They were no longer just ships. They were nodes in a vast network of consciousness and capability, each one adding its own note to the universal symphony. The Silent Sentinel that started it all held its position proudly, its dark hull now bearing the marks of all participating species. It was no longer just a human vessel, no longer just a watcher in the dark. It had become something more, a symbol of what was possible when fear gave way to understanding, when strength was measured not in weapons but in connections. As the celebration continued, Aria sent a private message to Dr. Chen. "Phase 1 is complete. Shall we begin Phase 2? The aged scientist smiled. "Yes," she replied. "It's time to show them what the resonance can really do." The galaxy held its breath, ready for the next chapter in its eternal story. The age of separation was over. The age of harmony had begun. And somewhere in the quantum foam between realities, ancient beings watched with approval as their inheritors took their first steps toward a destiny written in the stars themselves. The end, or perhaps just the beginning.